Hello everyone, welcome to the ICH Academy here in the Museum Hall of the Folk Art Center. And we have 3 wonderful presentations today. And we have planned it so that everyone has around 30 minutes time, and hopefully we will also include little bit questions for the 30 minutes. And maybe I introduce all the speakers before your presentations. But the first one today is Associate Professor Hsin-Wen Hsu from Taiwan.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much, the organizer, Audi, and also the Institute, for inviting me to participate in the 2024 Kaustinen ICH Academy, and for giving me the opportunity of sharing our experience of safeguarding intangible cultural heritage in Taiwan. My name is Hsin-Wen, and you can just call me by my Finnish name, Simo. Today, I would like to speak about the experience of safeguarding ICH through folk music education and research in Taiwan, with an emphasis on my predecessor and my work at the Graduate Institute of Ethnomusicology at National Taiwan Normal University. I will speak about my understanding of some current issues and perspectives in ICH safeguarding. And then I will briefly speak about the ICH safeguarding in Taiwan since the 1970s, with which I explain how the idea of collaborating Kansanmusiikki-instituutti and its partner Dalarli Folk Music Ensemble emerged in my mind when I had the opportunity to offer a course on world music in Taiwan. I will furthermore speak about the implementation of the collaboration project, with the hope to share my approach to current issues and the perspective in ICH safeguarding. Before discussing how my institution and I have made efforts in relation to safeguarding of intangible cultural heritage through folk music education, I would like to briefly contextualize the background of the initiatives. I have been interested in folk music Finnish folk music since my first longer trip to Finland in 2006. And I have conducted research on the institutionalization of Belly music in Finland during 2009 to 2014. Since I began my career in academia, I have been dreaming to invite master musicians to co-teach Finnish folk music with me, with the hope to make more people share with me the beauty and the fun of the music. This project began to take shape before the COVID pandemic, and then when I contacted my mentor, Arto Järvelä, to inquire about the possibility of teaching Finnish folk music to me and my students through online courses and short-term intensive courses in Taiwan, I was fortunate to receive a positive response from him. Unfortunately, the project was interrupted by the pandemic, but after the pandemic ended, I reconnected with Ardo and restarted the teaching project. In addition to introducing Finnish music to Taiwanese students, another goal of this project is to explore how the pedagogical practice of teaching world music can enhance students' understanding and engagement of the safeguarding of the intangible cultural heritage introduced to the course. That is, the end of this project is also to integrate what they learned into their musical experiences, thereby enabling them to become inheritors of that culture and promoting its sustainable development. So today, this is the context of the NTNU GIEM and the Kansanmusiikki-instituutti Dalarli collaboration project. And then here, I would like to discuss briefly my understanding of current issues and perspectives in ICH safeguarding. As many of you know, since the UNESCO introduced the Convention concerning the protection of the world cultural and natural heritage at the Paris meeting in 1972, protecting cultural heritage has become a focus of international attention. In recent decades, UNESCO has continuously revised the preservation plans for intangible cultural forms, and the UNESCO meetings continuously present new conventions, including the recommendation on the safeguarding of the traditional culture and folklore in 1989, the Living Human Treasure Systems in 1993, and the Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage in 2003. Alongside new considerations, these conventions reflect what scholar Nariko Aigawa Ford described as the shift from protecting the product to the process. Since the publication of the Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage, it has become a guideline for government officials, policy makers, non-governmental organizations, and international bodies worldwide to protect intangible cultural heritage. To help stakeholders better understand the function of the Convention and to respond to new local, global, and local issues, the basic texts of the 2003 Conventions for the Safeguarding of the ICH was published firstly in 2009. It provides the practical principles to continuous update it, with the latest version being published in 2022. In this blue book, we can emphasize some meta-level considerations, such as how to sustainably develop protection work, the ethical issues involved, how to best conduct protection work in emergencies, and how to evaluate the impact of the Convention. So recent research have also focused on how to promote preservation actions within cultural practice communities, including, first, who are the cultural practitioners? Enhancing collaboration between community of cultural practitioners, including representative custodians and the general practitioners, and the members of professional community, including experts, centers of expertise, and research institute. Second, scholars have also concerned how to evaluate through an ecological approach, including using a framework of 6 parts, including systems of learning, musicians and communities, context and construct, infrastructure and regulations, and media and music industry. Third, scholars have talked about we should move beyond universalism, breaking the dichotomy of global versus local, and emphasizing the heterogeneous perspectives of local actors in cultural practices within the global flow networks. Lastly, scholars have discussed how to emphasize the impact of globalization on cultural practice communities, particularly how global multicultural citizens, for example, some people who were born from different family lineage, and they have multicultural experience, and scholars call these kind of people as third cultural kids. So how these kind of people challenge our understanding of cultural practice, continuously members' attitudes, and the methods of using ICH for sustainability. So these studies indicate that ICH safeguarding may involve broader range of cultural practitioners, including educational institutions, scholars, and students. They can learn from both representative and the general cultural practitioners, and they can become also protectors, promoters, and the practitioners of particular intangible cultural heritage. Additionally, these studies indicate that safeguarding workers may have diverse, different kinds of perspectives and identities. They might not have only a single cultural or community identity, and they might not be concerned with the intangible cultural heritage of just one place or one ethnic place. Due to factors such as mixed family lineage, diaspora, personal relations, and the mobility experiences, they may possess multiple cultural identities and consider themselves as global multicultural citizens. As the diversity and cultural practitioners increases, I suggest we can consider the following questions. How does their participation challenge the definition and classification of ICH? How might their actions contribute to ICH safeguarding? As an ethnomusicology working at university, in contemplating these questions, I have considered using folk music education as a response to these questions. Before I discuss my approach, I would like to provide you some basic information in relation to ICH safeguarding in Taiwan. Since the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 2758 in 1971, which addressed restoring the lawful rights of the People's Republic of China, that is, Communist China, in the United Nations. The UN China seat has been represented by the People's Republic of China instead of the Republic of China, that is, the Soviet state based in Taiwan. Due to Republic of China's disconnection from international network, the cultural heritage in Taiwan, as well as in the surrounding islands, including Honghu, Jinmen, and Mazu archipelagos, were unable to benefit directly from international conventions in the early 70s, when global attention to heritage preservation began to rise. However, cultural heritage preservation still continuously worked in Taiwan in the late 19th century against the backdrop of diplomatic setbacks. Alongside the economic growth and the cultural rules movement in the late 1970s, in 1979, Taiwan government proposed the first cultural construction plan in which the preservation and the improvement of traditional craft as one of its 12 tasks. The Ministry of Education commissions National Taiwan University and the National Zhengzhi University to investigate and research traditional skills and performing arts, providing preservation and reform plans. Soon, my predecessor, Professor Chu Shanghui, of my affiliated institution, National Taiwan Normal University, was also invited to join the expert consultant in the early 1980s. His efforts laid the foundation for the research on Taiwan's intangible cultural heritage, including Nanguan, Beiguan, ensemble music, as well as Minnan, Hakka, indigenous people's folk songs, some of which are presented by our students at this year's Kaustinen Folk Music Festival. In response to UNESCO's 2003 announcement of the Convention for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage, the Taiwan government made significant amendments to Taiwan's original 1982 Cultural Property Preservation Act in 2005, and starting from 2009, the government began annually registering representative traditional music, ballads, storytelling, and lots of intangible cultural forms as important traditional performing arts of the nation. In 2002, the Graduate Institute of Ethnomusicology, where I am currently affiliated, became an independent academic institution focusing on researching, performing, preserving, and composing based on the diverse musical cultures in Taiwan and worldwide. In addition to conducting basic research and the transmission of performance practices, the Institute also provides training in multimedia applications with a focus on archival preservation and the presentation and the multimedia production, such as pedagogical materials, live or studio recordings, and ethnographic film making. Over the past 20 years, the GIEM have offered folk music education with a hope to train students as either researchers who also perform music or artists who also do research, just like Professor Heikki Laitinen suggested in his book. The Institute requires courses such as the Introduction to Ethnomusicology, Fieldwork, History of Sound Technology, Theories and Practices in Music Communication, and the Philosophy of Music. In addition, it also offers a series of courses on the basic research, the performance practices, and the multimedia productions. In addition, my colleagues and I have invited masters of various specialties to train students in understanding Taiwan's and the world's diverse cultures. They offer courses on Taiwan's unique musical genres, such as Nanguan and Beiguan, as well as world music traditions, such as Indonesian gamelan music, Indian Hindustani classical music, Tibetan theaters, Middle East ensemble music, and Nordic folk music. In teaching music traditions, our instructors emphasize conventional ways of learning. Students learn through understanding instruments and notation systems unique to the music tradition, learning to archival recordings and practicing classic pieces and emulating masters performing arts. Okay, so this is what I said. We have offered required courses and elective courses. For example, in learning the Nanguan music, students have to identify primary musical instrument and ensemble seating arrangement, such as 上四管, the upper four items, which is the typical form to perform this kind of music. So you can see there are 4 instruments on the right hand side, including 拍板, 洞箫, 琵琶, 二弦, and 三弦. 拍板 is the percussional instrument, and 琵琶 is the lute instrument, and 洞箫 is the vertical flute, and the 二弦 is the string instrument, bowed string instrument, and then 三弦 is the plucked string instrument. Okay, and the students have to also learn 公尺 notation, which is a unique notation system for many musical genres across China and Taiwan and Southeast Asia. 公尺谱 is interesting because you can see it indicates notes, the pitch with Chinese characters. So you can see also there are lyrics which should be sung simultaneously put in the notation system. And there are also, you see little circle and dot. That means rhythmic patterns of that sentence that should be sung. So you can see this is totally different from Western notation, stiff notation, or number notation. But so students have to learn this kind of 公尺谱in order to learn classical repertoire. And they also have to listen to historical recordings. They practice how to vocalize, like how to pronounce articulate words differently, because each word can pronounce maybe for 3 meters. So you have to pronounce the head of the word, the body of the word, and the tail of the word. Maybe it will last for 30 seconds just to pronounce one vowel. So it's very complicated to do that kind of vocalization. Okay, and students also have to identify and imitating particular styles, and they have to do public presentation at the end of their training. Okay. So lastly, I would like to talk about our collaborations with Kansanmusiikki-instituutti. Okay, this collaboration is a product derived from my research and teaching interest in Finnish folk music. Based on my research on the history of Finnish folk music and experience of learning Ruunolaulu, Rekilaulu, and Gandele, and as well as the Bengali music, I designed the course of World Music 1 and World Music 2 this year, and I focused the teaching of Finnish folk music in this course. I regard these courses as laboratory courses in which students, instructors are co-creating music. I was worried about the enrollment of the course, but to the end, Surprisingly, there were 26 students who took this course in the spring semester. To avoid the course becoming merely a window for peeping the exotic culture of Finland, I regard the course decided based on the rationale of situating music in our own local context. I invited students to think about the following questions. How has our own music, as well as Finnish folk music, has been conceptualized and performed in the changing world? How do we want to present it? How do we want to present our own music and the world music? How could the learning and the performing of Finnish folk music be relevant to people in Taiwan? My idea is that such kind of course can contribute to the transmission and the maintenance of Finnish folk music beyond Finland, and it can lead students to contribute to the creation of the tradition by making their own music. To increase the depth of the course by maintain it affordable, I taught partly of the course on site, and I invite Daladi members to teach the part of the course online. So on one hand, I lecture the history and the geography of Finland, the pronunciation of Finnish lyrics, and the basic grammar in Finnish language, and the text of the Kalevala, which was sung in many runolaulu. In addition, I taught students basic techniques of the gangdele, harmonium, and accordion. On the other hand, Daladi members choose repertoire for us and provide us with their arrangement. They also advise our students how to perform the yokiko, the fiddle, the mandolin, and oversaw our performance. My plan is that we continue to learn more tunes in the fall semester, and we invite Daladi to Taiwan at the end of this year to give us an intensive course and co-perform with our students in a series of concerts. At the end of this semester, our students were all able to perform 10 more pieces at the final presentation. Here is our performance at the concert called Laula Game Yuktesa NTNUSA. Okay, let me just show you a small piece of music that we learned. Just a piece that was arranged by our teacher Ado Jalvela, and we play it in major key, which is probably not that usual in Finland, but we like this new adaptation, and now it's become like a ringtone in our everyday life. Like we can sing this song in everyday life at school. Okay, so I have to confess that this kind of folk music education is very costly, and it's not very easy to maintain regularly. But I can see the possibility of such kind of approach, as it involves more people to become cultural practitioners and deepen the meaning of ICH safeguarding by making it relevant to individual participants. To conclude, I argue that formal education has great potential in the work of safeguarding ICH. Educational institutions scholars and students are crucial cultural practitioners. They are key actors in the institutionalization of cultural intervention. In addition, folk music education shapes students' global multicultural citizenship, and it provides them with the opportunity to rethinking who we are, what we could be, and the interconnectedness of ourselves and the world. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to your answers, questions and comments.
Now you can ask questions if you want.
Please.
Yeah, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I was just wondering, I didn't quite understand the way, the students really want to adopt the traditional way of singing and playing. Is there any space for improvisation or things like that in the music, or do they practice that as well?
Yes, students want very much to learn how to improvise. And in our previous curriculum, we have some courses on, for example, Hindustani tabla, and also Middle East makam. They had learned a little bit how to improvise. But of course, the improvisation in Nordic folk music, in European folk music, is quite different from those music that we have learned. So we are still experimenting. But when I teach the course, some fiddle player think these tunes are so easy that they can catch that in 1 minute or in, because they don't pay attention to the improvisation and the ornamentation. So they think, okay, they can handle it immediately. But gradually, they started to find there is a nuance. There is a nuance in between different sections, different structures, and so pay attention to the layers of the music. And I think they are gradually learning how Finnish musicians play the ornamentation, and they are hoping to try to learn that also. Please.
What are your future plans for the conserving your folk music traditions from this point onwards?
Yeah, you mean my plan to
Yes,
continue?
do you have different kind of plans, or do you, like we are having this folk music festival here, do you want to have festival types or performances or something to give it more attention to people?
Yeah, I think, well, I hope this course at least can be a starting point for Taiwanese audience also to think about why we should learn foreign cultures, music, because we have had these kind of world music courses in Taiwan in many institutions already, but sometimes, to my understanding, some teachers just use maybe videos to show students the music, the sound, but they haven't had this opportunity to offer students to play, to use the instrument. And also they haven't thought that much about why do we need this kind of curriculum? What is relevancy to our own culture? And I'm not saying that we should mix these kind of musical techniques with our own music, because I am sort of against that kind of approach. But I think it's because in ethnomusicology we talk about multiple musicality, and we believe that this kind of musicality may not lead us to really understand the culture, but can open a window for us to think about different approaches to instruments, different approaches to make sounds. And so we would like to use this course as a starting point to maybe to invite our colleagues and students to learn more intangible cultural heritage in the world, and also have the desire to participate in this kind of collaboration.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Kiitos.
Kiitos.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. presentation about the a feature comparison for classification of Kaustinen fiddle playing style from archived recordings with machine learning methods. And we have 3 article writers here, Henna Tahvanainen, Tuomas Ylönen, and myself. And Tuomas will keep the presentation for you.
Greetings, my name is Tuomas Ylönen, and I'm gonna talk to you about today of this scary and confusing looking title here, feature comparison for classification of Kaustinen fiddle playing style from archived recordings with machine learning models. And I'm one of these 3 persons we did this research about, and I'm happy to tell you about today the purpose, the methods, how we're doing it, and the approaches, the results, and what do these results actually mean. So the purpose first. Finnish Folk Music Institute here contains this ongoing folk music festival recordings since 1968. And when they are recorded in the archives, they've been labeled by a person, by hand, which is a very tedious process, very hard to do. And now, when the times change, there can be situations when there are introduced new labels, or maybe they want to edit or unite some labels together, and this is very hard to do afterwards to the records, or very challenging. There will be these situations where it is close to impossible. And one of these important labels nowadays is the Kaustinen fiddle playing. So if it could be automated, it would benefit and work as a very effective solution to the Archive and Folk Music Institute. Now, those of you who do not know what the Kaustinen fiddle playing is, it's inscribed on the UNESCO's representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity since 2021. But the playing style itself has existed over 250 years. You can characterize this fiddle playing style by syncopated and accented rhythms, and opposed to the traditional violin bowing, the direction is changed of beat. And Kaustinen fiddle playing style is also a regional example of a playing style around here in Kaustinen, Finland, and in western Finland as well. So, we had 10 hours of recordings from the archives that had the Kaustinen fiddle playing in them, and we have 10 hours that did not. So they are the recordings. First thing to do, because the AI models, the artificial models, they are not interested in anything else at this point than the fiddle playing. We were removing these unnecessary segments from the data. So applause, speeches, sometimes there are moving objects like instruments and chairs, clapping hands, and also the silent parts. Then we will have the recordings in a suitable format, and after that they need to be an even size, because the artificial machine learning models also always need them to be even size, so it can train them to its usage. So we chose 30-second clips here because it is very high probability that when there's a 30-second clip that the fiddle is present in that clip from the recordings. We had 2 approaches, 2 different types of machine learning models. The other one is a feed-forwarded neural network, and the other is a convolutional neural network. The 30-second clips can already be used with the feed-forwarded one, but this convolutional one, which I will be explaining after this feed-forwarded one, it needs pictures as an input, so we created spectrograms out of the clips. So first the feed-forwarded one. The recordings, it is not actually using it is as an audio format. So it will turn them into numbers. So they are just numbers at this point. And after they are turned into numbers, we want to use different type of algorithms that have math behind them, which are these so-called audio features here. They are very complicated. I'll give you like a small summaries of them, what they do, and why did we choose them. So the first one is a tonal network, tonets, so-called tonets, and it's a graphical representation of pitch relations. So it arranges the notes in a way that highlights the harmonic connections, like chords and key changes, and it's very easy to use this as a tool to analyze harmonic connections between inside the audio file. The MFCC, or male frequency cepstral coefficient, is a set of features. It will describe the shape of an audio of its audio spectrum by capturing essential information and by breaking the sound, and then summarizing it afterwards. And this MEL spectrogram here is working hands on hands with the MFCC. It's a visual representation of the sound, and it will show the energy of different frequencies which are changed over time. And it will also mimic the human ear, how do we perceive the sound. So it's a very useful tool to analyze as well. Then we have chroma or chromogram. This is a representation of the 12 different pitch classes found in a piece of music, regardless on what octave they are in. It doesn't matter. This will simplify harmonic together with the tonics, the harmonic analysis, and it is especially used for finding melodic patterns. Then we have spectrocentroid, which is, it will indicate where the center of the mass, for example, if I will lie in a hammock, you know, it will go like this. The center of the mass of the sound spectrum, it will find it. It will find the lowest point, and then it will describe its brightness. So the higher the value is, the more brighter and sharper the sound will be, or if the value is lower, it will be more darker and duller sound. And this is very useful to find different instruments inside the audio file. Then we have lastly the zero crossing rate, which is just it is just measuring the audio in a waveform style, how fast is the audio file signal changing from 1 to 0 and to 0 to -5 and so on. It'll just measure the fastness of that. We have 3 different versions of this model. So we had one that had all of these features. We had one that didn't have, last one, the zero crossing rate, and we had one that excluded both of these 2 last ones. So what did this actually do? We have a neural network here. This first column of neurons, it will receive all of these features, all of the numbers that were converted from the audio file. It will receive, and then it will make its own assumptions and deductions and send them forwards to each of the second column. We have very many thousands of connections at this point. But the second column here, it doesn't know anything about the audio files anymore. It will only know the deductions from the previous column, and now it will make assumptions and deductions of its own and send them forwards. And this process will go on until you reach the final point, which will be, it can decide the classification, which either it is Kaustinen fiddle playing or it's not. And it will be decided as a major revolt of the 2. Then we have the other one. The convolutional neural network is, you'll see in a moment, it's much easier to understand. But it'll take pictures, so it doesn't take numbers. It'll take pictures, and then afterwards it wants to break the pictures in smaller components. And after that, it depends how you were constructing the model. But for example, it can take more small pieces, and then it can combine them. Maybe take again smaller pieces and combine them again. But the important thing is that in the final layer, it will just give 2 options to you again for the classification. So, since it needed pictures, and we had audio files, we created spectrograms of all of the 30-second clips. In the x-axis here, you have the time, so it's from 0 to 30 seconds, and here's the frequency on the y-axis, and we didn't use the original frequency from the recordings because we only wanted the ones that fiddle were playing, so it has been reduced from 100 Hz to 8 kHz. Now, if you imagine this as a jigsaw puzzle, hopefully you can see it, like this. The convolutional neural network will work in a way that when you choose how it will go through the picture, it can go, for example, 1 piece at a time. So it will take this piece, look at it, think something, it will get a second piece, and then compare it to the first one. it will go all through the pieces and always compare them with each other, but you could also go by one column at a time, so you'll have a larger set of the pieces, or you could use a cluster and go through the spectrogram in a cluster kind of way, and the clusters can also overlap with each other. And in this way, this is the approach that we used. It was a bit smaller. The reason is that in the spectrogram, of course, there are sections that the fiddle playing is not present in, but and it doesn't matter, as long as the spectrogram has the fiddle playing in it, and the convolutional neural network will spot it. That's the important thing here. Here's a live representation. In the top one is Kaustinen fiddle playing, and the bottom one is not. It's not as clear to see, but there are much sharper black spaces between the frequencies, and the frequencies itself are also a bit clearer. This is one of the signs of the Kaustinen fiddle playing when using a spectrogram, and we were hoping that the model would take notion of this at 2. So, the results. Here we have, these are the first 3 here, are the feed-forward neural networks ones, and the convolutional one is here at the bottom. Overall, the feed-forward neural networks one, they were essentially much better. There is a few reasons to this. First of all, the convolutional one is very hard to optimize. It needs more time and resources to do so, but it definitely, because here it was close to 90%, it is possible to do, but it's not as very cost efficient to the feed-forward neural network ones. Also, the size is very different, and the feed-forwarded ones are very much smaller and easier to use. How do you actually read this? This is the accuracy. When I was training the models, it will then evaluate with the archive recordings that it didn't see before. It will evaluate itself to see, it will give you a classification, this is not Kaustinen fiddle playing, and then it will check if it was right or not. So this is the accuracy that it came after that, and it had a pretty high accuracy from the evaluation itself. And the x-axis here are the training cycles, so to get a much more reliable sense of how the accuracy goes, I trained the model, then I made it forget everything, and made it train again, and I repeated this 10 times. And after that, you would have like, here you see the green and orange ones, so FN2 and 3, they have a quite smooth of the line, so this means that they are very reliable when you are training them, because they will always get answers that are close to the 97%. Instead to the convolutional one, and the one that this one had all the features in them, the blue one with the circles, and they like took these dives. These are like training times that they didn't really get what's going on. And that also happens sometimes. And now the actual meaning to these results. If you could label this with the recordings this accurately, it means that you could make more of these neural networks. Each of them would do one label at a time, like a genre or what instruments are they in, years, bands, members, whatever, and you could combine them together and it will give you a set of labels at a time. It could be used to edit or just to supervise the labeling itself, because the data already exists in the archives. Most of the work would do just from the preparation of the data, so when you want to remove the unnecessary parts from it, and also to clip it to whatever size you want to use here. And this automation, of course, it would benefit the employees very much, but also the AI models themselves, because when you want to make changes later, you can just train them again, use the older models, and you can also fuse them together. And it's very easy to, when a system or database is updated or changed, you can just implement it there immediately. And of course, the most optimal situation would be that the employees would only need to check the label or supervise the process and then accept or deny it when the mail has been made to the database. So, I thank you from this. This is all I had to say. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
ask if you have any questions while we set up with Annika. We have a little live demo here. We haven't tested it yet with live violin playing, how well it classifies it, but yeah. So if you have any questions at this point, ask Tuomas while we set this up.
Yes?
I think in recent years, many scholars are looking forward to the input of AI technologies for music research and training. I was so curious, what do you foresee this AI research contribution to our learning of this kind of music? I mean, because it provides, of course, you mentioned accuracy, and also you mentioned we can tell which kind of music performance is sculpted, which are not. But how do you foresee the application of this kind of research for future learning or continuing of engagement cultural theory?
It could be used, for example, in acoustics. Acoustics is one point because you may want to make models of virtual instruments to, if you don't have like an exact instrument in use, you could use a virtual one. But also, a machine learning model could be made to use as a music learning tool with improvisation. You could play along with it, it would just make something after you play, or you can play together. It could be make other learning tools as well, like the ones that were working online in the web browser, something like that. So I definitely think that machine learning could be very useful if you just find the application for it.
Did you also have studied, or do you know anyone who also started to study the interaction among musicians in a piece of music? Because currently, it seems like we are focusing on like a single instrument, and I was curious if there are any Finnish scholars who have done studies on interaction within ensembles.
There are, especially among like jazz performances or duo performances, there are Finnish scholars. There are like scholars all over the world, not yet using AI or any kind of other detection tools, let's say from videos or not that I know of, but it is a growing field, definitely. If you look into, I think, performance science, musical performance science, you will find a lot of references there.
About the motion captures or
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Joo, yritetään
Just keep in mind that we were training the model with the archive recording, so there's no way of saying what's going to happen now.
So don't blame me. Elikkä sä voit alkaa soittaa semmoisen puolisen minuuttia.
Kumpaa sä haluat, jotain kaustislaista vai ei kaustislaista?
No voidaan kokeilla ensin kaustislaista.
Kaustislaista, okei? Okay.
Sä voit aloittaa soittamaan täältä.
Was it too coasty style?
A big error.
Ei se mitään, niille löytyy. Voimme soittaa siis uudestaan.
Okei.
Hmm?
Say what now?
Yes, I think I was building the demonstration all the last night. So.
Yeah. They are working on like something that you could play violin at the museum,
Yeah, that's
and then you could check if you can actually distinguish between the styles.
yeah.
But it's very hard to see what's going to happen
Okay, let's
when
try
it
once
gets
more. I hope.
Oh yes, it's there. If you want to show the, it says that it's
I'm so happy.
but yeah, Henna.
Okay. Bye.
We must record this perfectly.
So do I need to play something else as well? Or
Well,
just
of course we can try. Of course you test.
if you want, I can.
Yeah, then I'm scared that it will break. But
It doesn't tolerate any other than Kaustinen music.
maybe, but we can try. Yeah, we can try. We can play anything.
Just something.
Just something that's not Kaustinen.
Okay. Can I make a pose again?
You're sort of inflated.
Well, I can try with like a kid's song or something.
Yeah, at this point it's more about the playing style than the content of the music.
Yeah, I think model likes on the Kaustinen style because it doesn't recognize any more instruments, just the fiddle playing at the moment. It could be the case here.
Yeah.
Okay.
The recordings all had like ensembles. or
You want me
bands.
to give another example still, or?
You can try.
You can try.
We have 3 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
Now.
actually need to come here to Kaustinen, record a lot of violin players,
Yeah.
doing both styles.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's getting somewhere.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Henna had this great idea that maybe we would put an installation in future to our museum exhibition, also recognizing is the style from Kaustinen or not. So you could go to the museum exhibition and play a violin and test that is it the Kaustinen fiddle style or something else. Yeah. And then our last presentation today is about the polska nomination to the UNESCO lists. And I welcome you, Johanna Björkholm, to speak here in the front. And then we will also make a little bit Zoom connections here, so just hold on a little while.
Since we're not able to get a connection, I'll try to do it myself, and we'll see where we end up. And hopefully, this will turn out okay. So, what we will talk about is what could a future scenario about the Nordic polska be in relation to UNESCO. And as you already know, there is the 2003 Convention for Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage. Something that is unique to this convention is the fact that it has a bottom-up approach. So the performers and the local communities should decide what is important to us, what do we feel should be intangible cultural heritage. And then the question is, why do we need the UNESCO lists? Well, my answer is that the lists are very efficient tools for establishing cultural heritage status. If something is inscribed in the lists, it influences how we communicate about these cultural expressions and how it influences our way of thinking. So this is something that within academia is called let's see now if I can get it right in English. It's called performativity. The way we perform and talk about things affect the way we think about the world. So I have a picture here. This is taken about 2 hours south of here at the only natural heritage site in Finland, the Kvarken archipelago. This photo was taken the day after this site was inscribed on the World Heritage List. So the only thing that had happened within the area itself was this new brown site that was placed right by Finland's longest bridge that takes you over into the archipelago that was now a World Heritage Site. So my understanding is that it was actually the sign that was pretty much the symbol of a status change here. So UNESCO is a very powerful tool for establishing cultural heritage status. And in Finland, the convention was ratified in 2013. So the state of Finland pledged to pursue a cultural policy that safeguards ICH. And then it also committed to create one or more inventories of intangible cultural heritage within the state. In Finland, the National Board of Antiquities implements the convention, and this is also the first time in history that we have an authority that actually has a responsibility towards ICH. We did not have that before. There are all sorts of archival authorities, there are all sorts of museum authorities, but nothing that had any sort of direct responsibility towards living traditions and safeguarding. The National Board of Antiquities have an expert group that provides support for the staff that works with this convention, and then they have decided to arrange circles for practitioners within certain domains. So the circles gathers NGOs that want to collaborate within the spirit of the convention. This is the way that the convention works in Finland. And then if we talk about polska, pols, springar, and other names, this is a music genre that is present within the Nordic realm, and the different versions are quite varied actually, but musicologists find that the melody and dance is based on a 3-stroke rhythm. That is the one main feature of this genre. The rhythm can either be even or asymmetrical, depends on what area you move in. What we know about the history is that this genre was very popular in Germany and Poland during the late 1500s and early 1600s. And through the royal family marriages, there were very influential people moving to the north and taking these dances and musical genres with them. And then there were also the big wars of the 1600s that brought a lot of soldiers and their followers from Finland, Sweden, Norway to these areas in Poland and Germany. Here in Finland, there is this one story about how polska came to Finland, and that was through Princess Katarina Jagellonica, who resided at the castle in Turku with her husband, Duke Johanna of Sweden. And according to the story, this is how polska came to Finland. This is the one occasion that it came through. I don't think many musicologists would agree on this one. There must have been several interaction points, but it's a very nice kind of little story about why this has been an important genre to many people. It's relatively old, since it's from the 1500s, and then there's this connection to the upper classes in this part of the world. So, it's spread over Finland, Sweden and Norway in different form, and also to a lesser degree in Denmark and Estonia. You can find some instances. Historically, there are also reports that all dances of the peasantry were called polska in some areas. So it's a little bit difficult to say, how should we delimit or limit this genre. Now, this is what my colleague Bengt at Västernorrlands Museum would talk about. In Sweden, this year, polska was included in the national inventory. So they have done this big process where they came together, tried to find good definitions and description about what polska actually is and how to inscribe it on their national list. And we know that already back in 2005, that was before any of the Nordic countries had ratified the UNESCO Convention on ICH, there were working groups and discussions about whether polska should be included in the UNESCO list among the practitioners. And Bengt has listed here important years and happenings in connection to the polska. So there's the ratification in Sweden, and then Sånmärkesuppspelning, that is like the mästarepelimannet in one way, but you have to go on stage and prove that you're worthy because before you get this mark of honor. Then there's the folk costume that was listed in Sweden in 2019. Then they also have this polska dansmärket. So again, this is one of these performances and with a jury and people with a lot of know-how that say if you dance traditionally and well enough, you will be awarded this mark badge. And then in 2023 there was a big gathering with a lot of different organizations and researchers, national organizations, more local enthusiasts, and they made a nomination. And then Sweden has a system where their authority, that is called ISOF, very thoroughly goes through the text that are nominated, and they want to make sure that it is correct, that this is something that can be published, and there will not be disputes about, you know, how things are described. So they have been working back and forth with this for over half a year, and it was presented as an entry on the national list in the end of May this year. So the regional and national parts have all come together for this with the different displays to get these badges and marks. And then they have worked on a nomination text, and all the different big organizations were in on this, as well as the researchers. They chose these 4 scopes of music, of focus for their listing. So they're looking at music and dance as local traditions, so dialects of the polska tradition, if you would. Then you look at music and dance at festivals, so the contemporary tradition, what are the kids doing, what is the audience doing? Then you're looking at music and dance in associations, and here there are several different traditions, ways that have been established for decades already of how polska is performed. And then they're also looking at music and dance in education, so what is going on currently around Sweden. In Norway, there is a bit of a dispute. There are several different names used for these type of dances. The most common ones are pols and springar. But there is also the notion that these are regional dances, and how should it be reviewed. And they have several big events, the Landskapsleken, where Pols is one of the genres that you can compete in. And then there are rebellist groups. The Education and Research Institutes and Archives are working on this, and then there's the Norwegian Center of Traditional Music and Dance that are very interested in these genres. So the biggest parts, or should I say local Pols tradition today is Rörapolsk, Pols, and then there is Pols with an asymmetrical beat that is similar to Hambo, and then there's a faster one that is similar to Springer. Siri had put in here, our colleague in Norway, a clip from a concert. I'm not sure if I will be able to start it from here. No. We'll just move forward from that. In Norway, the convention was ratified in 2007, and Norway has multiple NGOs that are accredited. In 2024, you can see there were 8 of them within different genres, and they form a tight network and love bottom-up initiatives. So they have, she has put down here the also about boat, reframing a traditional learning process of building and use to a modern context. Now that is inscribed to the list of good practices of UNESCO. And then they have the practice of traditional music and dance in Setesdal. And this is southern Norway, and Pols is part of, Springer is part of their interest there. So there are some examples, and here she has put in some pictures from Setesdal with their musical traditions, and I'm afraid I'm not the person to talk about this, but yes, I'll move to this one. This one I can talk about. Polska in Finland. In Finland we have polska with even rhythm, and it has been danced in pairs, but also together in bigger groups. According to research, the pair polska has been more common in the earlier stages of the tradition. Currently, a lot of the folk dance teams mostly dance polskas in big groups. It has been spread according to the archive, what you can find in the archives today, from the Åland Islands in west to central Finland in east. But for example, Petri Hoppu, the folk dance researcher, says that it was common in all parts of Finland except Karelia in earlier stages. And in Finland we have polska tunes, we have polska songs, and we have polska dances. So different parts of this tradition. And polska has in many parts of the country been an essential part of the wedding traditions. So they were ceremonial dances. And also polska is part of different combinations in living traditions also. For example, a little bit away from here where the minuet is still dancing, a minuet is always followed by a polska. So if you say we're going to dance minuet, it actually means we're dancing one minuet and one polska. That's the only way. Here is a picture I found in an archive. It has been labeled polska dance on the dock in Kemia, Chinito. So that is definitely pair polska. A few words about the inventories in Finland and how these have been set up. The Living Heritage Wiki is an inventory that was created in 2016, and it is based on grassroots engagement, and that people that feel that their heritage should be visible contribute text and pictures about this. And the goal is openness and inclusiveness. And then in 2017, the National Inventory was launched. And the idea is that listings on the wiki can be extended, more in-depth, and then they can be part of the National Inventory as well. There have been 3 rounds of inscription. Overall, now we have 86 expressions on the National Inventory. And there has been a lot of talk about how there should be a network for these committed agents that wants to do more about ICH through the national list, that it could work like this to highlight safeguarding. Then about UNESCO. Back in 2018, there was an open call who wants to be nominated to UNESCO. This went out to everyone included on the national list. So then there was some questions to cover the UNESCO process about involvement, wishes of the practitioners, and how the application process should be carried out. And the selected applicants had to be prepared to write a 15 to 40 page applications and also produce film and photos for international use. And the UNESCO administrative process for a nomination is 1 year and 9 months, so this is quite a long process. So the message was that some will be chosen and the others can try again next time, but there has never been a next time. This was the only time this has been put to use was in 2018. And the outcome was that sauna culture in Finland was nominated and inscribed in 2020, and then Kaustinen fiddle playing in 2021. But besides this system with the national list being nominated, or agents can be nominated, Finland has participated in multinational inscriptions since then. So today we are part of the Nordic Klinkebot traditions that was inscribed in December 2021, and also in knowledge, craft techniques and skills related to handmade glass in December 2022 was that inscription. And we also have a work in progress, so dip netting culture of the Tornio River Valley is aiming to be nominated and inscribed in 2026. So now we have a system with these two different routes. You can either be part of a multinational nomination and kind of bypass the queue, or then you can be part of the national list and wait for it to open again for applications. But if you look at the wiki, at this point, I found these 3 different listings that somehow include polska. So there's the Jeppoan minuet, the minuet in Jeppo, there's the minuet in Finland, Swedish-speaking areas, and then there's these national pair dances that also mentions polska as one of their genres. So it is there, but not as clearly visible as in Sweden. And I thought just to illustrate a little bit what might work and how things could be done, I'd show you this from the Nordic Klinkebot nomination. So what I think is particularly interesting is this timetable to the right. The project started to get the Nordic Klinkebot inscribed in March 2015, and they hope to finish at deadline in January 2018, and they had meetings and workshops all over the Nordic countries. And they didn't make it, they weren't ready in January 2018, so in 2019 they actually handed over their nomination and were inscribed in 21. And I'll come over here and read because the screen is not showing it. But how they chose to write it is that Nordic Klinkebot tradition refers to what is perceived to be a shared cultural expression for the various types of klinkebots built in the Nordic region. We shall adopt a broad interpretation of the content of the cultural expression. This shall include knowledge about the constructions of the boat, knowledge about the practice related to the use of the boat, and knowledge about materials, tools, maintenance and sailing. Rowing trips, seamanship, waters and weather conditions. We shall emphasize the relationship between construction and use and the fact that these two aspects are mutually dependent. So I think this is a very good example of how they during these years really negotiated about what is the core common things that we want to put forward to UNESCO and how can we gather around this expression of culture. So what would it mean with Polska as a Nordic UNESCO nomination? This is something we would like to just discuss and pose some questions around. So is Polska a good cultural element for collaboration? Do the practitioners view this as one and the same? Is this something we could collaborate around and do good networking? What would the practitioners gain? The organization, society, is this something that would be meaningful to network around? And who would administer such a campaign and be willing to work for years on this undertaking all over the Nordic countries? And what would the end goal be? What would we achieve after such an inscription? What would happen? Would this be meaningful to the bigger region and the practitioners? I want to say, as one of my last points here, that when the clinker boats started their process, there was no Nordic network within this area. So that's one of the big things that they have done. They have created a network. They have started with Nordic conferences every second years. They have steering groups and whatnot that talk to each other and can support each other. That's one thing. Within the music area and dance area, we already have these networks. There is Nordic, for example, that has been running the Nordic dance festivals for decades already. There are all sorts of research groups and educational groups and whatnot that tour the Nordic countries. So I think the starting position is actually much better if this was something to go forward with. But yeah, I'm here representing a project that wants to emphasize further collaboration across borders. So this is my role here. I will be here brainstorming at 11 Perinon Piste from 4 o'clock. So please come and see me there if you want to. And then I have promised I will show some links. So if you want to know more about our project, there is this QR code. You can also talk to Annika or Outi or me. We are all part of this project. And then there are some thoughts of musical ICH. We would very much like to hear, if you have a minute, what you think about some general questions, what is important concerning musical ICH. That's all for me.